Hi friends! Today I'm going to show you how I made French onion soup. Sort of. Let's get it. So to make French onion soup, you're going to need some onions, some sugar, kosher salt, beef broth, Parmesan cheese, extra virgin olive oil, minced garlic, thyme, some cheese that I can't pronounce, butter, bay leaves, black pepper, and some bread. First I started by chopping onions, of course, the key ingredient to Sorta French onion soup. I had quite a few left over from a previous recipe, and they were starting to go bad, so I decided to use them here. I chopped the onions long ways because it makes for a better soup, at least I think, in my opinion. I had this really cool idea for like a cry cam, where I had my camera set up on my face so you could watch me tear up as I chopped these onions, but I feel like the age of the onions came into play here because I didn't really tear up at all, whereas when they were new, I cried like a baby. A really cool idea, but it didn't pan out. Anyway, I started out with 5 onions, but when I got to the 5th one, I found out that it was kind of rotted. I really tried my best to save it, thinking I could use the usable things from it, but I'm not onion Jesus, and I couldn't save it, so I had to throw it away. Sad face. After I got my onions all chopped up, I readied my workspace, I set my stove to a medium heat, and I coated the bottom of my pot with the extra virgin olive oil. In this case, it took 3 tablespoons. From there, I just started tossing in my onions. After I got all my onions in the pot, I covered them with a little bit more olive oil and then stirred on medium for about 20 minutes. After my onions were nice and soft, I added 3 tablespoons of butter and another tablespoon of olive oil. At this point, I stirred all my ingredients together, let it cook for another 20 minutes until my onions were brown. After that, I added a tablespoon of sugar just to help with the caramelization process. I also added in a tablespoon of kosher salt. Then I let that go for another 15 minutes or so, stirring on occasion. After my onions cooked down, I added about 2.5 tablespoons of minced garlic in an effort to ward off vampires. I mixed that all together. And then I decided to add the secret ingredient, which is cooking sherry. Because this soup about to get lit. JK, LOL, it's to deglaze the pan. I don't know if I did that right either. Anyway, I started by adding a little bit and then realized that I should probably add a little bit more. So I just poured until my little heart was content. Then I added my first container of beef broth and stirred that all together. It's starting to look like soup now, which is good. After the broth, the recipe I used called for bay leaves. I don't really know what these do. I'm assuming it has something to do with flavor. You remove them after you're done with the soup anyway, so I don't know. If anything, it looks fancy. This is the part where I added way too much time, in my opinion. I stirred in my mistake and then proceeded to add more beef broth because soup. From there, I did some more stirring. I turned up the heat and then I covered it and let it simmer for about half an hour. So while I let my soup cook, I moved on to making some fancy toast. I took my super handy serrated knife and I cut my Italian bread into slices. From there, I pulled out the tray that I toast things on and proceeded to wipe down each side of each slice of bread with olive oil. This would have been 100,000 times easier had I had some sort of grill brush, but I only had like a cake spatula, so I made do with what I had. After I got my bread all oiled up, I took it over to my toaster oven to toast it. Do not pay attention to any of the numbers on my toaster oven. Just don't do it. While I waited for my bread to toast, I mixed some cheeses. I took my shredded Parmesan and I shredded some of that cheese that I can't pronounce into a container and I just kind of shook them together. Just get a nice little blend. There's some missing footage here, but after my bread got nice and toasty, I popped it out, sprinkled it with my cheese mix, and popped it back into my toaster for a little bit. Once again, don't pay attention to the numbers on my toaster. Boom! Look at that toast. Personally, this is my favorite part of the recipe. It just came out the best. By this point, my soup's done. It smells great, but I'm not 100% sure about the looks. Granted, I forgot to look up what this soup was actually supposed to look like before I started making it. However, it does remind me of a French dip. And with that, I give you Sorta French onion soup. So, some final thoughts. This is the first time I made this soup, and it might be the last time I make this soup. Not because it wasn't good, but just because I didn't enjoy it. There's a lot of flavors. I feel like I made a very flavorful soup. However, I didn't like any of the flavors. So unless somebody asks me to make it again specifically, I probably won't make it again. Also, nobody told me that I was supposed to put cheese on top of the soup after it was done. The recipe I was following didn't tell me to do that. They just told me to kind of make cheesy toast, and that's what I did. That's why the soup came out more like a French dip, so I don't know, maybe I'll try the recipe again one day with the cheese, but I don't know. I am planning on trying a new recipe like this at the beginning of every month, so if you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. It'll tell me that this is the kind of stuff you like and you want to see more of it. Yeah, that made sense. I do have to thank my friend for getting me the ingredients that were necessary to try this recipe. Thank you once again. It means a lot that you trust me enough to cook for you. If there is a recipe you want to see me try, let me know what it is down in the comments below. I don't get many comments at the moment, so chances are if you have a suggestion, there's a good possibility that I'll give it a try. If you want to try Sorta French onion soup for yourself, I'll link the recipe that I loosely followed in the description below. Good luck. Anyway, I will see you guys next week with a new video.